ago I had the great pleasure and the great honor of recording this next song with a hero of mine, the legend that is Mavis Staples. I kind of wrote this song to remind myself of the kind of small and big ways in which people can contribute and do contribute to the world around them. I suppose in the context of this song particularly, the way artists have contributed over the decades and over the years, very oftentimes artists that we look up to, artists like Mavis Staples, you know. But also just how the kind of small but powerful ways in which people show up for each other every single day, you know. And just bearing witness to what's going on around them and going on in somebody else's life. I think every single day, any of us are liable to turn to the people in our lives, our friends and family, and say, hey, I see what you're going through. I see what life is like for you right now, right? And here I am, alright? I'm not going to abandon you in that, you know? And there's these kind of small little acts of like love and solidarity, which on the micro seem like nothing. But when you zoom out, sincerely, I think they make a huge fucking difference. And when you zoom out and everybody's doing that in the same direction, I think the world has changed forever, you know? In very, very powerful ways. You know, we kind of take for granted so many things that really sprung from people just bearing honest witness to the experience of other people. And part of the reason I wrote this song was to remind myself of everything we have to be thankful for that was achieved through acts of community organization and protest and direct action, you know. It doesn't matter where you're coming from on the political spectrum, there's all these things that we enjoy day to day in our respective democracies that we benefit from every single day, that had to be worked for, had to be fought for, had to be pushed for, you know? We take for granted that every single citizen should have the right to vote. And that's not something that was always the case within living memory. We take for granted that women should have the right to vote. Something that had to be fought for, women had to fight for generations. Something that is now unthinkable. But it's within living memory that women couldn't open a fucking bank account without a male guardian signature. It's worth remembering. And when I say living memory, I mean a few decades ago, you know. We take for granted we should have weekends to look forward to. Saturday and a Sunday, that's something that the Labour movement had to fight tooth and nail for, you know. We take for granted that women should have reproductive rights and full control over their reproductive system. That's something that my country only achieved in 2018. And it was not until people started putting their feet on the street and grassroots movements applied pressure that politicians would utter a mumbling fucking word to an issue that was endangering the lives of women for generations. As I said, I come from Ireland and you know, I recorded this with Mavis Staples. She used to sing before speeches during the American Civil Rights Movement here, as you may know, with her family, the Staples Singers. But why there was some particular interest to me as an Irishman is that civil rights movement that you had here in the 1960s directly inspired a civil rights movement that happened very shortly afterwards in Northern Ireland. At a time and place where not every single citizen had the right to vote, you know? Again, within living memory. All of these things are genuinely people just bearing witness to the experience of other people, I feel. We take for granted that members of the LGBTQ+ community should have the same rights as us, right? In our society. And that's something that took a lot of people just bearing witness also to the experience of other people. Bearing witness to the experience of their neighbours, their friends, their siblings, their kids, and saying, you know what, your experience might be different from mine, but I would want you to have the same, I would want you to feel as safe and secure in a society as I do, right? And I believe at the core of it, people are good. They would want to see safety and security for everybody in their community. They wouldn't want to see their neighbours live in the fear of hatred, live in the fear of racism. They wouldn't want to see their neighbours live with the fear of anti-Semitism or live in the fear of Islamophobia. We've been singing this song in solidarity with anybody who would reach out to their representatives, issuing that same empathy, that same honest witness, and say, no human being should be subject to the kind of violence we've been seeing on our TV screens over the last 10 years. No human being. But it doesn't matter where you're coming from, it doesn't matter if you're a Palestinian citizen or an Israeli citizen, no human being should be subject to the kind of violence that we've been watching on our TV screens over in Gaza. I come from Ireland, which has centuries and centuries of occupational violence, hundreds of years of occupation and occupational violence and sectarian violence, and the peace process that came about in the 1990s, which meant that I grew up in a peaceful island, had huge involvement from the US administration at the time, huge involvement from the US citizens and the global community at the time, the international community. So I come from that place. If you feel moved to reach out to your representatives and ask them to support a ceasefire, ask them to support a political solution to what's going on now, I so strongly urge you to, I so strongly encourage you to, and ask you to. And if you would want to see peace and safety and security for everybody in our region, which I know, I feel in my heart that everybody would, you know. Peace and safety and security would, of course, mean seeing a Palestine free from occupation. And free from occupation. I want to thank you so much for letting me speak to the heart for a moment. I want to thank you for letting me witness the kind of everyday goodwill, the everyday sort of solidarity I'm talking about when I see a crowd like this, of people looking out for their neighbours, people looking out for people they don't even know if somebody's feeling faint. Thank you so much. That's the kind of powerful action I'm talking about. I want to thank you for this incredible welcome also. Thank you.